everyone. Today I have the pleasure and the honor to welcome Mark Domizio. Mark, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine, Lena. Thank you.
Mark has an incredible story to tell. He already started to tell it to the world. And this time we are going to tell it in other perspectives. And I really look forward to this. How did Mark and I connected? Well, on April 19, 2021, I received a message from Thorhan from the Galactic Federation. And he was filled with victory and joy and satisfaction. He was feeling very victorious. And I said, what happened? And he told me, the Earth Alliance and the Federation have liberated a big chunk of very dark underground structures under the Indian Ocean. And he showed me visually a triangle showing this area. And he said, we've evacuated a lot of slaves and prisoners and also a lot of dark beings out of this planet. And that is why you may feel something different in the air. And I didn't really know what he was talking about. I learned later that day, the Schumann resonance went up the roof, like something dark just left Earth and the energies just rebalanced, like boom, bounced. I learned later that it was about Diego Garcia, this base in the Indian Ocean. And just the following days, when I spoke about that on YouTube, following days or a few days later, a lady contacted me. She said, oh my gosh, my husband was in Diego Garcia many years. And this news really touched him. And this person was you, Mark. That is how we connected. And so what does the April 19, 2021 means for you?
Well, I cried for a while after that. I was so excited to know that it was finally, that awful place was gone. So yeah, it was a confirmation. I had heard from my guides that it happened, but I needed to hear it from somebody else to make sure. So let me tell you what happened like 2 months before that. In February, late in February, I wanted to find out what the location was. I still didn't know that I was on Diego. And I had a session with somebody, Rebecca Rose, and we went into my Kasich records. I saw everything about a second before she said it. So it was a tropical island and it came out, it was Diego Garcia. So after that, I started to get more and more memories. So I wound up having a QHHT session scheduled with Suzanne Spooner, and that was around March 18th, March 19th. So the week before that, I went to Florida to just chill for a little bit for 10 days. And I wound up meeting an ex-Delta Force guy. And we were talking and we knew a bunch of the same information. So at one point I just said, have you ever heard of Diego Garcia? And he smiled and said, Blackwater. He said, Blackwater just offered me a suitcase full of money to go there. So I knew at that point that Blackwater, the cabal, was still on the surface of Diego Garcia. And so I knew I shouldn't really talk about it much at that point. The next day, I woke up and I watched a video, and it was you and Dr. Sala. and you were talking about Stephen Chow, how he just died. So that hit me with fear immediately. I went and told that Delta Force guy, I said, forget what I told you, let's not mention this. And then the next week, I was pretty worried the whole time. About 10 days later, I went to see Suzanne Spooner, and I had my session, and then it all did come out. And I knew it was Diego, and I knew what they did to me, and I knew how long I was there. And then I was totally scared. I left Suzanne's really scared. I thought, if they know what I know, they're going to kill me. If they knew the memories I was getting, they're just going to kill me. So I got back to Suzanne and told her, I said, let's not mention this to anybody. Don't mention that name. Don't type it. Don't say it. Because I wasn't sure if I was still under surveillance. So from that point until April 19th, I was just worried. And I thought, let me just keep this. I'm just going to shut up until things politically change in this country, because it wasn't safe to talk about it now. And about 3 weeks later, the stress was just so much on me. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I was looking like I was aging every day. So I finally just thought, I'm just going to have to say this. Let me back up. One thing I did do before I went to Florida, I contacted Dr. Sala. I emailed him. I said, I have information on a dump that I was in for a long time. And I have a QHHT session, and I'll fill you in with more information when I get back. And after that session, I thought, I'm going to get back to Dr. Sala, because one of the things that came out in the session was and it's not about Dr. Sala, it was, do not 100% trust him. And what that my high self was telling me, I saw a vision in my head. So it's not Dr. Sala. Dr. Sala was put in contact with an ex-military guy who was giving him information. That was the guy that, if Sala talked to him, he said Diego Garcia, that guy was going to want to know where it came from. So at that point, I never got back to Dr. Sala. And I just kept it all in. And then I finally called Tyler. We had talked before at Journey to Truth. And I told him, let's just do this story. And so he booked me it was like 2 weeks later, we were going to do it. And then I decided to contact Suzanne Spooner, and we decided to release my QHHT session before Journey to Truth, so that people could just hear it for themselves. Also, we wanted to do it because we thought there might be a lot of people in my circumstance and it might help them. And also, Suzanne did a textbook version of QHHT, no leading questions. It was perfect how you should handle a high trauma client like myself. So after the session, I drive home and I'm sweating it out. I mean, just sweating it out. Like I said, I called Tyler, we popped the session out, and I was still just waiting, And then I heard in April, I had heard you give that. I was sitting there, actually, I was just listening to you. And I knew from your description when you said Indian Ocean, and you said Africa and India, there's nothing else in between there, Diego Garcia. So I knew it was Diego Garcia, but you didn't say it. So I was typing in real quick. What's the name of the location? What's the name of the location? So you didn't see it. And then next show, I kept typing it in. In fact, when you and Dr. Sala were talking about it, I kept typing in, what's the name of the location? I was too scared to type in Diego Garcia. I was going to say, like, is it Diego Garcia? And I think it finally, like the next show, I was like, hell with it. Is it Diego Garcia? And I didn't think, nothing happened. And then finally, you came out and said it. When you said it, actually, he didn't say it either. He explained it more when you two were talking about it, but neither one of you said the name on his one. So there was the two videos. The one where you said you felt that joy and all that feeling from Thorhan. And then there was the next one where you discussed it with Dr. Sala. And both times you never said the name. So I was just going crazy. So finally, after my session, we released my session, you came on and made a comment, and then you put on the April 19th stuff. And that was when that's when we connected. And that's when I got verification that Diego Garcia was done.
Wow, that's amazing when all the pieces of a puzzle come together, and it was really meant to be. And I didn't know Susan Spooner, and just when I opened YouTube on the day she put the session out, I just saw it. It came in my feed. So some people, good people, wanted probably me to see it. So, and I just saw this and I went, oh my gosh, that's Diego Garcia. And I think at that moment, your wife contacted me. That's my husband, and I follow you, and blah, blah, blah. And that was it all together. But
yes.
So you were there. You have been there as a prisoner, as a victim. You've been through horrible things. You maybe want to share with us in a little while. But what I would like to know is, before you go further into what happened to you, how did all of this life experience and adventures, how did this begin? What happened first? Do you remember?
As far as this whole program going into it?
Yeah.
Yes. I remember everything, probably gotten 4 or 5 times the amount of memory I had when I did Journey to Truth. So I remember conversations and everything. So what happened, I'll go over my timeline quick for you. It was 1981. I was thinking about joining the Navy. I took a test with a recruiter, and I decided not to go in unless they would give me a signed piece of paper that said you can try out for the Navy SEALs right out of boot camp. So I didn't want to do anything else. I really wanted to be a scuba diver. That was my whole idea behind that actual Navy SEAL. In 1981, nobody really knew what all this information about Navy SEALs. All I knew was they scuba dived. That was it. So I asked him for that. They denied that. They gave me the physical test and writing to practice for a month or so. And the recruiter kept bugging me to see how I was making it on the test. And I finally decided after about a month just not to do it. I told him not to contact me anymore. 2 months later, he contacted me and told me to meet him at a local bar. He had somebody that wanted to meet me. They give you the whole speech. He thinks you're special. He saw your test scores and all this stuff. So I went down there, met them. This guy was really just exuded just a dark feeling. He's one of those people where he walked into the bar, everybody turned around. You could just feel his nasty energy. So I sat in the booth with the two of them across from him. And, he was just a nasty guy, intimidating me. Wound up drugging my beer. They put something in my beer. We went outside to talk after I drank the beer. And Then I was put into a van. Actually, I got in the van to talk. The drug started hitting me, and then he pulled out papers for me to sign. So I signed the papers. He said, give me 2 years. You'll never want to come back. It will be an adventure of a lifetime, and nobody will know you're gone. I didn't even think, I didn't even hear that last sentence probably. So he took me to a location in New Jersey, and he said, I had told him I wanted to do this at that point. I was going along with it. And he said, all right, if you really want to do this, I need you to go in the door by yourself to show me you're on board. So I went through the door, went inside. There was a nurse and a doctor in there. I waited in the hallway a little bit, and then they took me in a room and put me on a table that looked like partially covered, kind of like an MRI type thing. Came up to maybe my waist, was covered. I laid in there, and then, well, here's where it splits, but I'll go with they put screen memories in you, so you think things don't happen. So that was their first screen memory. They gave me a screen memory there where they were waking me up and telling me they couldn't use me, and then they brought me back, but that never happened. So what really happened was I woke up and I was getting my head shaved in Diego in a chair, and military, just getting ready for boot camp. And the guy just said, goodbye, say goodbye. And he was shaving my head. And I just said, yeah, goodbye. We went and got trained. There was just 8 of us, which was weird. We all had our own trainers to go through the obstacle course and everything. We never talked to each other. It wasn't like a unit. We didn't fight as a unit or talk to each other. We were all individuals. So we were trained, and then we were pulled and put in a line and given numbers. I was number 1. We were numbered 1 through 8. I was number 1, and my partner number 2. So we would then break off and train together. But you were never allowed to talk, and you never used your name. You always used that number. That was it. They told us to forget your names. We trained for a little bit, and then I started doing missions. So I guess I was number 1. I was the first one. I did some missions. It was an abduction and kill group. This is what it turned out to be. This was the Black Navy, is where it really was. I found that it wasn't the Navy. It's called the Black Navy. He was a Black SEAL. He wasn't a Navy SEAL. So on Diego, it seemed like the Black Navy was kind of, that's what was running out of there. I guess there also was the Navy in there. But this unit was just a kill and abduction unit, where they abducted 8 of us to kill and abduct for them. And I believe they were, it was financial. They were getting money. It was his project. He would do things for other people. So, give you an example. They took me from Diego through the mag lift, the train, and I never knew I was on Diego, first off. They didn't come and say, hey, you're on Diego Garcia in the middle of the Indian Ocean. I always thought I was somewhere near the United States. Mm-hmm. So we took this, and we wound up in Tennessee, in a base in Tennessee. And then I went with the one guy and did what I was trained to do for a couple of weeks, which was abduct this man. I guess he knew who he was. We waited in the woods near a parking lot. And when the guy came out, he said, go. And I did what I had rehearsed. I went down, put a sleeper hold on the guy, dropped him, moved him into a vehicle, took that vehicle and met them at a rendezvous point. And then we went back to the base and then back to Diego. And I was told at that point that this is what we expect from you from now on. So to get to that point, training, if you didn't listen and do everything right away, they beat you. They put you in a chair, bound you up, and they would beat you. It was a wet room. I don't know if you know what a wet room is, but it's just a square room. They're either stainless or concrete, and there's a drain in the middle. You know, they kill people there. They do whatever. So it was all in the wet room. They would do that, and they started waterboarding me, and you know, I couldn't handle waterboarding, so I just did whatever I could do just to make that stop. That's when I did good on that mission. After that mission, I was given like 3 days off. They told me, you know, if you keep doing good like this, you'll get better things will happen for you. You know, you'll get time off. You'll get to do something. Because at that point, it was like 3 months, and we hadn't done anything. The 8 of us were crammed together for 3 months, and I went to a bar and I met somebody, which turned out I wound up, after the 3rd time I met this person, guys in black uniforms came and roughed me up. So I'm going to go through this just because this is actually why I got such harsh treatment. I've just figured this out. That woman was the daughter of the commandant. The Dom was run by a commandant. He was German. He had a German outfit, uniform he wore. Turned out this turned out to be his daughter. So I got reprimanded big time for that. Then a little bit later, I'm not sure if it was before or after, we're coming back. Actually, this is before I did any missions. This is what kind of got me in the doghouse from the beginning. We're coming back for a mission, and I saw something. And when we got dropped off, I went back to check it out. I went back to a restricted area, not really knowing why at the time, why I was even doing it. But I went back and I looked in the window and I saw the commandant and a reptilian and a craft. And about 30 seconds after I saw it, 2 guys grabbed me from behind. I got tortured and beat and questioned why I was there. You know, who are you? They go through your records just to make sure that you aren't somebody they thought, you know, they don't have a spy or something in there. So they torture you and go over your records to make sure that information is correct. And then his daughter, about a month later, that incident happened with his daughter. And that got back to the guy that was in charge of me, Bill. So I caught a lot for that. And I had decided at that point, I needed to escape. And I knew I was in Tennessee, so I thought, I'm in the United States. So if I escape out of here, you know, I'm in the United States, I can get out of here. So I started to think about escaping. Next mission was off planet. Same thing, abduction. We went through a portal in the tunnels. There was only about 5 of us. I've met some other people now, and it's a portal. It was a moon of Jupiter that we went to.
Yes, there's a portal behind Jupiter and next to one of the moons. Yes, that's been confirmed. Thorhan showed it to me, and also Tony Rodriguez confirmed it as well when he was in the Dark Fleet. They went through this portal behind Jupiter. Yes, next to a moon. That's the one, the Dark Fleet. Yeah, I'll let you continue.
They have, I guess they have like 70 some moons. Jupiter does. So we're trying to I have, I'm in contact with 2 other people I'll get to that I met later on that after Journey to the Truth said they know me from Diego. But anyway, we got to that point and I decided to escape. We portaled to this planet. There was like a big gingerbread, it looked like a gingerbread. It was white and it had its arms out. It looked very much like the shape of a gingerbread. Man, it was maybe 40 feet high and it was white, and we had to climb up it and burn it, set it on fire. The people were kind of primitive. So we climbed up this, we set it on fire, we went down the other side, and there was this chaos. And then you were supposed to herd people, basically. These people that were on there, they were abducting some of them. I went with the one group. I pretended that, like, even though they were like only 4 or 5 feet tall, and I'm 6'2", I was like just pretending that they were pulling me in their one direction because I was trying to escape. And once I get out of the light from the burning object, I just went with those people. We wound up getting in a river and holding on to something. It's like a little canoe thing, going down a little bit. And then I got to look at them. And I realized, something was up because they weren't human. And I let go. Let go of the boat, drifted over to the bank, and then walked back to where I was. And I lied. I said, oh yeah, I got caught up in all this. And they knew I was totally lying. So I guess they knew at that point that I was going to escape. We got back, and within days, I found out that the guy who was in charge of me, Bill, was going to be off base. So I had been issued a weapon, a 45 pistol, and nobody else in our group had a pistol. So I told them, the 8 of the guys, 7, I said, I didn't tell them specifics, but I said, you're not going to want to do what we're doing. We're doing horrible stuff. And I said, I'm escaping. I'm going out tomorrow morning. If you want to go with me, I'm leaving. So they all left with me. We left the next morning. It turned out number 7 turned me in. So when we got down to the bottom of the steps, they were waiting for me with rifles. And then I got beat by Bill, the Black SEAL who was in charge of me. He beat me bad. They interrogated, tortured me. They were really concerned about this reptilian. They questioned me about that again. Did you tell anybody in your group about that reptilian or the craft? And I hadn't. So after a couple days of that, then he handed me over to the prison in Diego. So you were always threatened if you didn't do what they told you. They would put you in prison. There was a prison a level or 2 below the dome. So he handed me over to those guys, to the prison. There was a German German guy who was in charge of the prison too. Same thing. Every position of power was German. These 2 guys held me, Bill's guys, they held me. That German guy beat me and raped me. They urinated on me. They stripped me, and they threw me in a solitary, but it was a box, really. It was about 5 feet high and, maybe 7 feet box, just in diameter. There was a hole in the back that was your toilet or whatever for you to use, and no bedding, and it was pitch black. So they put me in there for a year. I just found out why they took me out, actually, 2 days ago. So they put me in there and they would feed me dog food. and and water in a dog bowl. Sometimes I actually had to scream for it. It wasn't like they brought it every day. And then when they did bring it, I had to beg for it. They made me act like a dog and to get my food. So, and then maybe once a month they would take me out and push me down into the showers, squirt me down. So I was blind at that point because it was pitch black. It takes a while for your eyes to adjust. So that went on for what I find out is about a year. And I just found out 2 days ago that I starved to death there. They let me go until I died. I remember being outside my body, just looking at my dead body in that cell. And they took me, they found me dead, they pulled my body out. I don't know if they panicked or what was going on. They took my body to the labs. There's experimental labs there too. Grays running. They took me there. The Grays revived me, reanimated me.
Did they put your body in a pod and reintegrated your soul? Did they do like this or differently?
It seems to have been a tank.
A tank, yeah.
Yeah. I just got these memories 2 days ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, So anyway, I wound up dying there. They did whatever, they brought me back. And this is the strange thing. So I was trying to find out why they did certain things to me. And I don't know if you're familiar with Peter Slattery. He's like a friend of mine. Peter always does this thing where he'll tell you about how you break off. It's like, here's where you break off from source, and you break off in different aspects, and you keep breaking off, and these are all different aspects of you, different lives. What was like, I'm here. They found out who this is. Not that I'm anybody special. They found out pretty much who I am, where I broke off from source. They wanted that. So I found out, okay, I sat in after that, I wound up, after that tank and I'm reanimated, I was sitting in just like a room or a cell, and they were giving me food, and I had clothes, and there was bedding in there. I think I was only in there for 2 or 3 weeks. And then 2 guys with green uniforms showed up. And they took me down to the train, and they took me on the train. And I asked them, where are we going? What are you doing with me? And they never talked. I don't even know if they were real. They almost look like men in black. There's something about their eyes that just didn't seem right. So we went on that train ride and wound up, they took me to Dulce.
Dulce. Wow.
So when I got there, it was all green uniforms. It seemed like office at first. And then they took me in an elevator. Brutal. They dropped me off. There was no human beings there. And it was basically opened the door, pushed me the hell out. And it was great. So they took me, put me on a table, and then there was these little ones all around the table. It seemed like, I thought it was a gray, but I don't think so now. I think it's a white bug. He was an insectoid. And standing about 5 feet past the table, he stood there almost like at attention, never moved, never blinked, never did anything. But I knew he was in control. You could just feel it. and I could just feel him going through my soul. He was just like looking at my past lives and stuff. It was weird. Then they did something. It's just this horrible pain that I can't describe. They like stole my part of my light body. They took a sample for their hybrids. And my next memory is I was laying on a floor in a big room. It's kind of a hallway, and there's kind of hybrids. They look like teenage boys, but they didn't. They almost look like grays mixed with teenage boys. I can't explain it. They were really violent. There was groups of them, and they were kicking me in, you know, just making these weird noises and stuff. And there was a being I could see in the distance. He was big. He had like a monk cloak on, just like a big sack over him. Bald head, bigger ears with earlobes that came down farther. He didn't have solid black eyes. He had eyes very similar to ours, but they were color was black. And his nose was different. It came down a little bit and came out a little farther. He came over, picked me up, and took me to this little room, and I stayed there for the rest of my time with Dulce. He never let them touch me again.
Interesting.
So, yeah. And then at that one point, it was sad. You know, I spent weeks with him, but he kept bringing me food, and, you know, it was horrible stuff. Really nasty stuff in a bowl. But I ate it, you know, after a year on dog food, it wasn't bad. Yeah, I know. It seemed to give me my health back. I got my strength back, which seemed like which is what he was trying to do. And then at some point, they came and took me back to Diego. They just came in there, and I never talked to him. He never interfaced with me. We never said anything. We just looked at each other in the eyes and communicated. And at one point, and two guys in green uniforms came and got me and took me back to Diego. That was then put in prison, the regular prison at Diego, where there was other people. They had a section which was like dungeons. That's where I was before. So this was a lit up regular prison with lots of other guys. I got dropped in there, and the first people I saw was my ex-partner, number 2. I saw him looking at me, and he was with another guy. I went to work. The other guy was the head of the kitchen, it turned out. So I had to cell them with my old partner, Joe. We were in the same cell, and I had a job in that kitchen, which lasted, I think, 10 days a week. The guy ahead of the kitchen, I don't know what was up with him, but I just got the feeling he touched me, and I didn't like where it was going. He put his hand on my shoulder or something. And, you know, it was a test to see how far I would let it go. So, you know, I had a knife. I picked up a butter knife that was serrated. So if he touches me again, I'm gonna kill him. And then he touched me again. So I sliced him up, and I got in a fight with him. And when I looked back, there was 7 of us in the kitchen. Me, my partner, Joe, and the other 5 of them. When I look back, I guess they had tried to come near me to stop it, and my partner, Joe, he was badass. He killed 2 of them, and the other 2 were on the ground bleeding. So what we did was we wound up taking away the whole kitchen. You know, the prison kitchen was basically done. So they got really annoyed at that. We were taken to another cell, Joe and I, and we weren't allowed out anymore. You know, they weren't going to let us out. So after 2 days of starving us, they came, the same two guys that fed me dog food, that did everything. It was the same two guys that showed up and then said, okay, the guy's name was Gruber, the head of the prison, the German guy. He said, Gruber's got something special planned for you guys. And you're first. He pointed at me because I was like the troublemaker. Mm-hmm. He took me then to, they took us, he took me to this room. It was like a dungeon room. And there was a table in there. They both held my arms, you know, and Gruber stuck a needle in my neck, you know, in the back of my neck. And it was a drug that, you know, you couldn't move, but you were awake. You were conscious, but you couldn't move anything. You could feel everything, you could hear. And then he laid out, you know, a bunch of instruments. He laid me on my face, laid the instruments out, told me what he was going to do, you know, torture me. They did that. And then sometimes he raped me, I think the first time. Then it was a cycle. It was like he dropped me off, and they would pick up Joe and take him, you know. And when they dropped you off, you could move a little bit, but you couldn't talk or anything. It lasted a long time. And they would take him and then drop him off. It seemed like almost 2 weeks. We couldn't talk to each other. You know, one of us was always drugged up and laying on the floor, and the other guy was gone. So finally, we had a skip day, and then Joe said, "We can't do this, man." You know, so decided to kill ourselves. They took me the next day, and dropped me back. And I was still drugged, looking up, and they didn't take Joe for some reason. And he just came over to me and said, "Man, this is it." I was laying on the floor, and he put his hands on my face, and he said, "You'll make it. You'll get through this." He said, "Make sure you tell our families what happened to us." And I learned his real name, Joe Campbell. And when I woke up, he was dead. His body was cold, and he had hung himself off our bunk with our socks. How desperate he was.
Yes, this is horrible.
Yeah. That was pretty much the end of me. What happened then is I went crazy. I went the 2 inches more because I was almost full crazy at that point. I just went totally crazy. It was several hours. I was in that cell with his dead body for a long time. They finally came, and they pulled me out, and they gave me a shot in the neck, as usual. Threw me on a stretcher right in front of the cell. But since I could hear everything, I could hear them, and I could hear them. They were worried. They were like, you know, Bill said, "Don't touch this body. He's coming down. Don't touch him. Don't move anything." So it was me, those two guys, and then Gruber, the head of the prison, showed up. Bill, the guy who abducted me, the Navy SEAL dude, he went off. He was like, I told you not to kill them. And this guy was just crazy. He just went off and killed him. He broke his neck, killed that guy, dropped him on the floor. And he came over to me and looked at me, and I thought, wow, man, you're saving me, you know?
Yeah.
It's over. Finally getting out of here. And then they pushed me away and wheeled away, and I just closed my eyes, just thought, finally over, you know. And it was a while. I could feel my body being moved around, and I felt my body being transferred from a bed to a bed, and something didn't feel right. You know, I felt that dark something wasn't right. And when I opened my eyes, I saw grays all around my table and a really bright white light. For not even a second. It was just a second, and then it was like a switch went off. And next thing I know, I'm sitting in a chair getting my head shaved. And these people are speaking German to me. And I didn't know what the hell was going on.
I know Grace sell humans to the Dark Fleet. That's a fact I know. So it may have been that, but I'm not sure. Just passing through my head.
Yes.
Please,
So what had happened was, this is very confusing, but my body and Diego was probably only there for a day. But they took my mind. This was so hard to figure out. It took 2 or 3 people to figure it out. But they took my mind. They transferred me to 1940-ish Kruger on Mars, where they were giving electric shock treatment to soldiers on Mars so they would not be scared of anything. They would not be scared of the insectoids and the creatures they were finding on Mars. They were just walking out the door and they were getting killed. They were locking up with fear. So this was a program where they gave us electric shock till you forgot who you were. You had no fear. And that's when that started. So I got electric shock. That part of me was there for 3 months. I guess my mind was in another body for about 3 months.
So you were on Mars.
Yeah, 1940s Kruger, which is the thing that Rebecca Rose did it too, and she saw it. She said, "Are you in? Is this like 1940s, 50s, or stuff?" I said, "Yes." You would think it would be all this, futuristic equipment and stuff, but it wasn't. It was stuff you saw in the movies, old movies, and so there was a nurse and a doctor, and they shocked, they shocked her all the time. Up until then, I have to say my standard response was, whenever I could talk after being tortured, F you. Whenever I could talk to the person, I always said, F you. I did that once on Mars. When I got to Mars, I did that. Right. I did that after I got shocked. First shock. As soon as I could talk, I said that to the nurse. And I never did that again. They shocked me, and every time I almost had it together, and they would shock me again. It was like, okay, I'm not talking. So there was several of us there, all shaved heads, little white gowns. They gave us electric shock, and at some point I got shocked, and I felt my body. You could feel your light body come up about 3 or 4 feet when they shocked me, and then come back slowly down to my real body.
Okay.
And then one time it just went. It just kept going. That was it. I left that body. They had turned me into. They had been the whole time I was being programmed to be a serial number 085971 Hans. That's what they told me. So when I left there, I was 085971 Hans. I had no conscience, no fear, no hesitation, no memory of who I was before I was there, no memory of anything before Hans. I guess they transferred my mind back. Hans was retrained all over again. Physically, they did the same stupid shit, putting him in the chair, beating him, all that crap. After he was trained, then they wound up putting him in Diego Garcia, down into the tunnels. Beneath Diego, the dome, is a series of tunnels, just like you would have in any major city, sewer tunnels kind of, but they really far reaching. There was people down there that were being experimented on. They had been experimented on actually decades before for super soldier drugs in the dump. They were experimenting on people they abducted and then releasing them in the sewers like you would release a rat that you just experimented on. Jeez. These people wound up breeding and living, and they had a culture down there, you know, and they would sneak up. There was, you know, access areas where you could sneak up into the streets of the dump. They would sneak up in the outskirts of the city where construction was going on and there wasn't many people. They would sneak up there and go around and steal supplies and stuff. And that's how they lived. So their clothes were rags, stolen clothes, whatever they could get. That's how they ate. You know, they bartered for stuff, for food, for clothing. They wore rags. It was horrible. So
so they were the product of hybridization experiments and left on their own device, like you say, rats.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of it was when I did my missions, they gave me injections before. So a lot of it was the testing of those drugs. It's like they gave me, you know, injections before I went to this one where I was going to climb. It's like, I went effortlessly. And it's just like, you know, they would give you stuff that would enhance your hearing, enhance your eyesight, whatever you needed, your reflexes, strength. Those are the types of things that they tested out on these people. And, you know, some of them were really messed up. There was gangs of like boys, teenage boys that would roam through these tunnels. Just really dangerous, you know, doing whatever they wanted because they were all just fending for themselves. They had no choice. So Hans was put down in the tunnel, given an area, East Gate. It was really desolate to control those people. If anybody ever escaped and had went up to the dome, then Bill would come down and get him and tell him to get him. That was his main thing he was doing. He was in the tunnels, lived way back in there, and would go up to the dome and give that serial number to get supplies and ammo. Okay. Did that for almost 36 years. Hans, well, actually almost 35 years. Hans was there. So my part was about 2 years, not even 2 years. And then Hans was created. Hans was down there in those tunnels in Diego until 2018. In 2018, he found out that Bill was caught. And there was a long-standing record of if any order, if you hear that I am caught or anything happens to me, there's a list. It was supposed to go down those people, kill them, and then go kill yourself and make sure nobody finds your body. So in February of 18, Hans was actually in 17, he was in the base giving blood to some people, and I'll go back over that. And he got the message that Bill was caught. Something happened to him. So after he was done there, he went back to his space in the tunnels, got the list. There was only one guy left from our original group of 8. He assassinated him, and then he went down to the tunnels where he had dumped bodies, leaned over and shot himself in the head, fell in. And in February 18, I got all his memories.
That's it. The part of the soul that was put in Hans got back to you, and then you were, it was a soul retrieval, and you were suddenly complete, but because it was like magnet to the core soul, I suppose. And then
Right.
when that was reintegrated to you, the piece that had been fractaled, I don't know how to say, then you got with it all the memory of what this little piece of soul had lived, and it became you. And I suppose it must have been so confusing because it was a part of your soul, but it wasn't you living this life, and it wasn't your body, but it was a clone of
It was,
you. Yeah, isn't
yes.
it?
So I actually had three different memories going through. I had a session in 2016. That was my first session. And what came out in that was, yes, you were in the program, because I couldn't take much information. My high self knew it, so I got just a little teaspoon. Yes, you were in a program. Yes, you saw a reptilian. But my high self did say something interesting that I just never, you're having past life memories come in. That's what most of your war memories are. Because I was having memories of just like mowing down tons of people and stuff. So in 2020, I wound up going to James Gillian and getting a transpersonal release session. And what that is he released all past life trauma. And this trauma from my childhood in this lifetime. And you come out with the name of your main guide. So I learned all that. And what he cleared was, guess what? He cleared, I had a really nasty life in the Orion Wars, and that's what was bleeding in. So once James did that, all that fell out of my head, and I was left with two different things, which was confusing to me because I had thought I was only in it a couple years, but I had memories of people that I knew in the beginning with gray hair. So I was like, how's that possible? That they could go gray in 2 years. So that's when I realized that, okay, you're dealing with something else. You were in here longer than 2 years. Something's going on here. And then I was just left with my memories and then Hans' memories. After this last session then in 2021, just in March, I found out all about Hans. I found out that I would get all his memories. I found out that I wasn't karmically responsible for all the stuff that he did because my soul wasn't there. And those who created Hans and those who gave him the orders to do that stuff, they were karmically responsible.
Yeah.
So I started to try and let all those memories go and just kind of be an observer. And then I found out from my guide the big picture, which was I agreed to this. I agreed to the whole thing. It was a plan. Hayog is my main guide. I was with him in the Orion Wars, and this was my agreement to go through this experience. So I have an agreement where he can look through my eyes, they can hear, they can smell, they can do whatever they want through my body whenever they feel needed. I gave them permission before I was born. They watched everything through the whole experience. So in 2000, well, I don't know what year that was, but when I saw the reptilian and the commandant and the craft, my guides were looking through my eyes at that. And within 3 weeks, they got that reptilian craft. They caught him. And the reason I had the agreement and others did, Diego Garcia and what I think most of the DUMs are shielded by ET technology. So they know where the location is of the DUM, but they can't tell actually what is going on in there. So incarnate in, we incarnate in with these types of agreements, and people can see. And then actually, in my group of 8, 4 of us had an agreement with Hayok. He's let me know. My partner number 2, he had an agreement. He was there for Hayok. At one point, I was so pissed at Hayok. I was like, really, why would you let me do this? You know, why would you let me take this on? And he's like, you don't think I let you go in there by yourself, do you? And then he showed me Joe, my partner. He was one. Number 3, his name was Jordan. He was one of Hayok's guys. And number 7, the guy that turned me in, he was Hayok's guy. He had to make it happen. So everybody had a hand in making Hans, basically. And what they never knew was, even though we couldn't get real-time information from Hans, he was a recorder. He could see and hear everything. He recorded every conversation and everything he saw. I have all the conversations that Bill, I remember conversations of Bill saying stuff. I remember all the conversations that they thought that this guy was a robot. They didn't have to worry about it. They would talk about anything in front of him, in fact. So I have all those memories. And when I went for my session, all those memories came in and they took them all out. Hayok had access to them all. And 1 month after my session, I heard from him that we've done something to that place. We've taken care of that place. And then I had to hear from somebody else. So I went through all that, finally heard it from you. So that is, that's the whole thing.
That is mind-blowing. It's like a circled, and once you get out of it, in the same time, the base is liberated, cleaned out, everybody's freed, but in the same time, although you weren't there anymore, you are also free. It's like if there was something there that was maybe controlling you, maybe blocking your memory, that's been destroyed or deactivated anyway. Anything that was in there has been deactivated anyway. So suddenly you risk nothing. Suddenly you're free.
Yes. Suddenly all that darkness, that whole feeling was just lifted and just gone. The other thing that happened was in 2016, I went and got my first session. Well, they found out that I was getting my memories back because they had always kept an eye on me. They were watching me. I didn't know it. They've been watching me since 1981. They've kept an eye on me. They found out I was getting my memories back, and I was abducted in 2017 and taken to the moon and questioned. That's where he was. His operation was running out of there. He was no longer out of Diego Garcia. And when he did that, he exposed himself because I still had the same agreement with Hayok. So a month after that, that's how Bill got caught. He gave up his location on the moon. He was caught. So they just never knew that what the operation was, that they were being looked at, and all the information was going in through incarnated souls. And we never had any recall of it. So you could torture us, you could beat us, you could do what you wanted. We didn't remember it. So that's the protection we have.
That's it. Yeah. And that's the mission also. You took upon then this mission to just sell them out and just go in there, experience, like allow Hans to be. The creation of Hans was the key to, as I understand, of the mission, the creation of Hans. And
Yes.
Hans could really, I don't know, he was the key to many
Yeah.
things, wasn't he?
He was a recorder that knew all the tunnels, knew where the prisons were, knew all the stuff, knew where the labs were. I don't think too many people probably had 30 some years of experience on Diego Garcia in all the different levels. So all that information was then given to the Council of Light, as I know it. But you've told me it's Council 5 now.
Yes, it's the same Council of Light, of Orion Council of Light. It's a Council of 5. It's the same people, and they do a lot of operations like that. They work on a soul level, and that's totally fit it. Wow. What do I want to say? I'm just like speechless now.
Yeah.
So what's very well planned, although there's a lot of suffering involved, horrible
Yes.
things. The thing is, the purpose of the mission wasn't that much to allow you to live through all of what Hans has lived, but just to get you involved enough that Hans would be created, and then Hans would experience all the crap, but you wouldn't.
Right.
And then you would just
Right.
get back his memory.
Yes. I did know I was not allowed to kill. No matter what they did to me, I couldn't kill. So that was my part. That's why I never, when they tried to make me kill somebody, I wouldn't kill anybody. So I was useless to them at that point. But what I had heard was, you did well. You did what you were supposed to. You didn't, you didn't do anything. When I first started getting memories of Hans, I heard, not so for him. He did everything they asked him. So yes, he was just a recorder who recorded everything, all conversations. He's actually the reason Bill got to move to the moon with his operation was, well, I know you heard my recording. So the recording, the hostage scene in that recording, what that hostage scene is they came and got Hans and took him, and that's actually the commandant.
Yeah.
The commandant's house. That was his daughter that I had met and gone out with. It's so strange.
Yeah.
His wife, his daughter, her husband, and their 5 children, or 4 children, were all at that house having dinner, and 2 of the tunnel guys broke in at gunpoint and were holding him hostage. Bill came and got Hans, brought him there, told him to go in there and whatever you do, don't let any harm come to the people, and kill those 2 guys. So that's when, that's the hostage thing on my recording, where everybody's kneeling on the floor and Hans kills those 2 guys. Well, when he kills them too, they get into a certain position. They're walking around, and there's nothing going on in Hans' head. He's always tracking people and sizing them up. It's like the hands of a clock. He's watching. Okay, you're this. So when they got to a favorable position, I could hear go in his head, and he went, and he just killed the 2 of them quickly. As soon as he did that, a woman stands up, and she comes over to Hans, and it turns out to be this Hans, the daughter that I went out with years before that. It's her. And she walks up and she says, "Thanks for saving my family." And then she looks and says, "Don't you remember me?" And Hans says, "No." She says, and her father comes over at that point, the commandant, and starts to pull her away. She says, "I thought you said he died in prison." And then I hear her say, "What did you do to him?" So, Hans' ears were, he could hear pretty much everything. They had done something to his hearing. So I got right there, I was like, okay, well, I know what's going on. But that got Bill out of Diego Garcia and to the moon. He took full credit for that because it was his man that came in and saved the commandant. When he saved the commandant, his family, he then got, within the next couple of years, his operation moved to the moon.
Wow, impressive. Do you think the moment when they fractaled a part of your soul to create Hans, was it the reason why they brought you to Dulce? Was it done there or not? No link with it.
No, really, they hadn't fractured it again. What it is there's an ET technology that they use in all these programs, pretty much. It's a soul splitting technology. So it splits your soul. You have a clone in the programs with their split soul, and then you have your regular person that's living your life. That's how that works. At some point, now that me and that program, what they did is they just pushed that split soul. They pushed that part of my soul out of Hans' body. Hans was a soulless meat suit, just going around recording stuff. So what I got when he died wasn't his soul. It was like the essence of, that they had stole from me. It just came back, and the memories came back with it.
That's it. I understand now. I understand.
What they did to me and Dulce was just steal light. They just stole my.
Yeah, the light essence.
Yes, that's what it is, light essence.
Yeah, that's what the Greys, I've heard that the Greys are working on trying to crack the codes of it because they don't have that light essence. They want to have it, they want to know how it works, they want to use it for themselves. They try to crack the code of this thing, and that's why they abduct so many people, and they do all these experiments, especially in Dulce. It was like the hive of it. I have yeah. That's all you remember from Dulce, just being brought there and done this. And
I think I was there for maybe 3 weeks or so.
Yeah. Wow, amazing.
I was going to say, I have contacted that being who saved me there. I wanted to know his name. It was bugging me. So I contacted Peter Slattery, and we went over it, and we found his name. And it's not his name, it's what they called him. But they called him Theo, I guess, because he looked like a monk. But Theo, and he was actually letting me know, because I thought he saved me right from the beginning, and they never experimented on me. So as soon as I connected with him, he was like, no, I didn't get you until after they did. So that's when I got those memories. But they had something in their hand, the little Grays. That's all I kind of remember. I was just in terror. And I couldn't take my eyes off that insectoid once I saw it. It was just like I blocked them.
Yeah, I know. These insectoids they are interdimensional beings. So that's you feel they have an aura that is very intense, and they're freaky anyway. They're scary anyway. And in there are a few abduction stories that I've heard of, where you have these tall insectoids associated with kind of gray humanoids with monk outfit. So these two work together. That's very interesting that you mentioned.
I found out that Theo is like he's not from anywhere, any galaxy around here. He's old, really ancient, but he's like a caretaker. They visit those facilities and watch and kind of step in if they making sure things. They're like, they don't stay. He wasn't there all the time. He just happened to be there when I was there. If they're passing through, they'll stop at these places. So I was just lucky to have him take care of me. But that's what Peter had figured out. They were caretakers who just went to these facilities and watched and made sure things weren't really bad or something.
Wow, this is so interesting. So interesting. Yeah, these insectoids called mantis or whatever I've been told they come from they are interdimensional, but they come also from another galaxy. Not not interdimensional here. They come also from another galaxy. So you said the other ones also you had this revelation that they were from another galaxy also. That they really work together. It would seem. The mantis, they are just scientists. They just study. They have such a different ethics. They are not working for any agendas, but their own curiosity and experimentation. So they are very fascinating beings. We can't say they're good, they're bad. It's not in their ethics. They just work for different people as long as they can continue their experimentations and their studies. And they are abused. They are used a lot by the Greys, the Orion Greys, a lot, and the reptilians, because these mantis, they're like genuine. They're like, yeah, whatever. Let me study these beings, these people, these creatures, and yeah. But so because they are good at that, so the Greys took advantage of them so much. I know that. Yeah.
It was a different energy. I never felt anything like that. Very busy, and I can explain it, but hectic.
Yeah,
it's a strange
insect-like.
It's very exactly. The little Greys were very angry. They didn't have like just they didn't look like the Greys that I remembered from Diego. The little ones they had like angry faces. The ones in Diego just had like just a no emotion on their face, but their face was kind of wrinkled up.
Interesting.
I looked through your book. Kind of looks like Ebens or no, it's this other one.
Because
they have a wrinkle. Their face was wrinkled here. It wasn't straight. It was went in here, and they had like an angry look all the time.
Oh, yeah. I think about a few species. They were definitely not clones or synthetics, because the clones and the synthetics. But the way you describe the ones in Diego Garcia, soulless, emotionless, that's the synthetics. But the ones you describe in Dulce, it's very interesting. It would take time to go through my book, but you've been through it yourself, so you would know better what corresponds to.
I mean, this isn't the one, but see that face? I don't know if you can't see that. It's too bright, huh?
Is that the Zeta?
That is actually, it's called a Shambhala.
Shantbahali, yeah, Xorog, Shantbahali. It's the famous Zeta Reticuli ones.
That's the one that looks like.
The ones we call the Zeta. They are everywhere. They are working for the Orion group, and they are part of their alliance, the Zeta or Zeta Reticuli. Zrog or Shantbahali, that's their name, but Xorog is more like they call themselves. But yeah, the Zeta, but that makes sense. The Zeta Reticuli, they are nasty little things.
They had that little uniform on too.
Black uniform.
They didn't have. They had a uniform on. Yeah. Ones in Diego didn't have a uniform like that.
Okay.
Yeah, these guys had the little uniform, just like that picture. It's really just like your picture, except their faces were maybe just a little fatter. Your pictures are excellent. You're reptilian. That's exactly the reptilian I saw, the Naga.
Yes.
He was big and red. He was about 7, 8 feet tall, like dark brownish red, very red. If it was in bad light, it looked like he was black, actually. So, yeah, I got a lot of stuff out of there, and I actually think that maybe. What do you think about Dulce? What level do you think that was?
I think it was really not the lowest level. Maybe, I think, how many levels there is? 17, something like that. It was in the lowest levels where they do that. You know, the deeper you go in Dulce, in the underground, I wonder if that's over now. That's been cleared. The deeper you used to go in the underground, it was the deeper you would go into extraterrestrial domains, and I think the humans, they could go as far as the 4th level, and then it would go down in the horrors as you go down, and they would do genetic experiments crossing humans with animals, with ETs, that they would, take, abduct, from different races. It was really horrible. I think that would be maybe not the lowest, but maybe near to the, in the very deep ground. And this train, this Mac train, it arrives really in the lowest level first, and then you have to climb if you want to go up. So
well, we know Diego had a portal. I mean, to travel, there was portals there. I think there's more than one portal. There was also then, a spaceport. It was a jump spot. I've talked to Tony. He was there several times, and I think Johann Fritz too has talked about being there. So something was going on geographically with Diego too. There was portals. There was a jump spot where they could go out to space.
Yeah, and they were probably sending prisoners to other camps on the Moon and Mars. Well, that's pretty much what happened to you.
Yes.
Who do you think was in charge of Diego Garcia, what you call the Black Navy or the Dark Fleet, or both, or else?
I think the Dark Fleet is. I think the Black Navy is just like the little ground crew for the Dark Fleet in Diego. I know that the Black Navy has other things going on, but in 2017, like I told you, Hans wound up giving blood. And strange, after Journey to Truth, I got contacted by Shauna Shirley. 13 minutes, 14 minutes into the video, I got an email from her. And she said, I remember you. I got blood from you. And you had one of your arms was deformed or had been, you lost it. And so I hadn't told anybody that. So I knew she knew what she was talking about. In 2014, Hans lost his arm in a freight elevator moving bodies from the Malaysian flight. And I never mentioned that. So she knew that. I knew she knew that for sure. It turned out then I get another message from somebody else, and they got blood from me. So there's 5 people that wound up getting blood in Diego Garcia in February of 2017. So they were in what they call the Black Manna, which is a part of the Black Navy. And there's symbols that I saw on doors and stuff through Hans and on uniforms we've been talking about, and they've shown me. And these are Dark Fleet, some of these uniforms, but they also look like uniforms I saw the commandant wearing, the German guy who was in charge of the Dome. So there's definitely a connection between the Dark Fleet and the Black Navy there. And
so Sorry to
And the newer
interrupt. Yeah, sorry.
Black Manta is going on now,
Yeah.
or was going on right when it was cleaned up. Still, they had the Black Manta going on.
Could you describe this symbol that the Black Navy was wearing on the uniforms?
I have pictures of it that, well, let me finish this. When she contacted me, we wound up getting together. So Shauna and I and another guy named Will Glover and Joseph Powell, I gave them blood. They were newer programs. In fact, they're still active right now in the Dark Fleet.
Okay.
In the Black Manta, they're still involved in this.
Okay.
They were trained there. We've talked about it. They were trained in the tunnels there too. Did some water training there. So what happened was we tried to figure out, like, why did you guys need blood? So they were going to that same planet that was a moon of Jupiter that I had been in 81. They wanted me to give them blood because they would acclimate better. Because I had already been exposed to that planet. And then we decided, well, there's 5 of us. But how could I be giving my blood to 5 different people? And then we did research. My father had O negative blood. And that's when we figured it out. So that was it. They knew my father had O negative blood, so, which makes it pretty interesting. In 2017, on Diego Garcia, they still had records of me, Mark Domizio. They had records of my father's military's records because they knew what blood type he had, because I never told them. They had records of the missions that I did before Hans, because they knew I was on that planet. So they still had all that information, and they gave my blood to those 5 people.
Okay.
And I have the memory of actually laying on the table, giving them, Hans giving them the blood. So it was nice it's a verification, because I remember their faces and they remember mine. So
this is extraordinary, and all the elements are sent to you at the moment you are free. At the moment you are liberated. Different people just let themselves known to you. Well, good. Your guide probably does that.
yes.
Like me, like this lady, like people, just to confirm and help you be set free. That's a great thing to do. Your guide is really great to do that. I'm sure that's him doing this. So I've seen recently. It turns out that more and more I hear about who have served in the Orion Wars and have sworn to come here and finish the job. And you also, yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Me, James Gillian, Peter Slattery, my wife, some other people that you know, but I won't say their names. There's at least 10, 15 people that I know that have been in the Orion Wars. And
Yeah.
it's like we're all meeting each other. And one of the things too, I think, is about these people with the Orion Wars, we all seem to be going to James Gillian and getting cleared from that energy from the Orion Wars. It makes me wonder if we can only clear those energies in the lower dimensions. It's like we were like 4th dimension, 3rd, 4th when this happened, right?
Yes.
Orion Wars. And we've all gone on to be higher beings, those beings were higher beings. But it's like we incarnated back to a lower dimension and density so that we could have that trauma cleared. Maybe you can't clear it by yourself as a higher being.
That's it. You need to clear to fight the battle on the right battlefield, So that's why we came here. The battlefield is, Thorhan told me recently, the battlefield, it's a third density. So that's why it's happening all on a third density. It's funny, I recorded an interview with James Gilliland yesterday, and we were talking about that. He was asking me, that is going to be out soon, he was asking me, yeah, but what density these wars are going on, because we are helped by higher density beings. So no, everything is on the third density. They attune to this frequency by suits and belts for technology. So yeah, we came back incarnated here, and that's what you do. And what is interesting in your story, important, because okay, people like you have gone through horrendous things, and the world need to know about it, that these things exist. But then as well, there's something that needs to be spoken about also. It's a spiritual dimension to it. And I know you really want to put a point on that, that it's not only experiencing this as a victim. As you said it yourself, you chose this as a mission. And knowing this, that may help a lot of people.
Yeah, everybody has a high self and everybody has a main guide, and everybody has agreed to your incarnation that you're living. You don't come in just and thrown in here. There's a lot of information that they go over with you before you incarnate in. Everything's to your best interest. So everybody has a guide and a high self, and that's where you really want to start your journey. Connect with your high self. Your high self knows everything about you in every lifetime you've ever had. And between your high self and your main guide, all the answers are there.
Yes, we just need to remember who we are. And when we remember who we are, the memory comes back and the purpose of the mission.
Yes.
And before asking you, I always ask to my guest the same question at the end. Before asking this question, is there anything you wish to share about all of this you've been through?
I do. If anybody else is going through any of these experiences, one thing I didn't talk about much is the years I was suicidal. These heavy trauma, and you have no idea where it came from. And then when you see things in your head that make no sense, you're going to be feeling very suicidal. In fact, they count on it. When you go through these experiences, they're hoping you will kill yourself within the first year of you getting these memories. They count on it. So that's what I would say to anybody. You're not alone. I thought I was alone through most of it until 2 years ago. I just thought I was a being that just came here for this experience, and I didn't have any guides, everything. But you do have guides, so contact them. You're here for a reason. If you feel suicidal or anything, just hold on. There are ways to get help. You can get QHHT and find out where these memories are coming from. And just the best thing to do is make a connection with your high self.
Beautiful. It's very important, very powerful. When you feel you are lost, just go back within. Because if you reconnect with who you are, you're not alone. Because then you reconnect with your guide and everything.
Yes, you're never alone.
Never. And you are such an inspiration, because after all you've been through, now look at you. You have embraced your healing, the light, and the reconnection with who you are and with your guides. And it proves everyone that you can do it. You can make it. And if you have been through, oh my God, such horrendous and quite mind-blowing in horrors experience, you can do it. I mean, everyone can. Everyone
Yes,
can
you
do
can.
it.
Yes. If I could get through this much crap, you can do it, definitely. And one thing that James Gillian says that's very important, it's just energy. You can clear it. All these memories, the trauma, it's just energy. You can get rid of it. It's not part of you. That stuff that happened isn't you.
I agree. It isn't you. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, thank you for daring sharing with us all this wisdom gained by not only experience, but by reconnection with who you truly are. And you really stand now in your power on your throne of sovereignty. And I can really see the light, like I was about to say flushing because it's so hard. So out of you, it's like light. You are light. You are victorious. And mission accomplished. And now you are going to continue to spread this light, to help. And the only presence, your only presence is enough. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
I always ask at the end, same question. What would be your message for humanity to help in these times of change?
Look within. It's time to you have to look within. Deal with your own. Everybody has stuff to deal with. And really at this point, don't look outside what's going on. Look within. Take care of your stuff. Everybody has healing to do. And really just find out who your main guide is, your high self, because you'll find out who you really are and who you were. And this stuff going on right here is just to wake people up. So just got to get through this last little bit. And I think everybody can see what really was going on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. If people want to join you or to contact you, or know about you, do you have a website or just a way to contact you or not? You read out.
You just my email, markdomizio@yahoo.com. I had no social media left because I knew I was under surveillance for years. So I dropped all my social media. But
Now
maybe I'll pick it up.
Okay. I'll write it down. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Anna. It's been fun.
Yes. It's great to connect with a fellow Black League soldiers, the Orion Black League, the rebels, the rebellion. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Elena.